Our clothes, as a mirror, reflect the history of civilization. It is more than second layer, as nowadays fashion and style became the way of self-expression, seeing deep symbolism in surrounding material things. Speaking via things and rituals is absolutely in Kazakh style. That is why the history of national costume is an incredible world exposing our mentality. Today in the program, Saukele of Vivienne Westwood. 100 horses for a headwear, according to genetic memory. These are photos from the fashion show of the famous British designer Vivienne Westwood. In her autumn-winter 2016-2017 collection, we can see quite recognizable headwear. By the way, the British designer is not the first one who turned her creative eye towards Asia and Scythian Saka costumes. Westwood's collections are very provocative and intended to outdare the conservative British fashion. However, such outfits will not surprise steppe girls. According to Kazakh traditions, a girl is considered a guest in her father's house, and from the early childhood she is prepared for the fact that sooner or later she will leave her father's house and become a daughter-in-law. Even nowadays, when the notion of feminism and emancipation is quite widespread and does not shock anyone anymore, mothers, whether they are housewives in the village or businesswomen in the city, almost from the birth of a daughter, think about her wedding dowry, jasau. In the olden days, an indispensable attribute of the jasau was a special headdress named Saukele. The cone-shaped high headdress is an important attribute of the wedding outfit of Kazakh girls. Modern Kazakhs have two weddings. The first celebration is a wedding from the bride's side called Kızılzatu, farewell to the bride, and the second is organized by the groom's parents. As a rule, on the day when the bride bids farewell to her relatives, she chooses traditional gowns, a fitted dress with frills, decorated with ornaments and a smart kamzol waistcoat. But even if the bride's gown is far from Kazakh national, she still wears Saukele for the farewell ritual. Why is this headdress so important?
Saukele
is the most interesting, original and richly decorated version of the headdress in the Kazakh national costume. It is shaped either as a cone or directly pointed pyramid, and this form directly refers to the image of the world mountain. Saukele is a wedding hat. It is a peak of craftsmanship. It was filled with symbols that belong to the upper world. But at the same time, Saukele itself is divided into three levels of the universe. The lower world is decorated with fur or fringe, and the upper world is trimmed with feathers, owl's feathers, is a reference to the upper world. It can be unequivocally claimed that Saka headdress are prototypes of Saukele. Saukele inherited from Saka headdresses not only a form but also a ritual philosophical significance. Parents were very careful and responsible when preparing this in a way amulet for their daughter, and sometimes invested in it a fortune. This also had a utilitarian sense. In case of loss of her husband or any unhappiness, the bride could sell jewelry to feed herself and her children, and such cases were quite common in hard times for Kazakh nomads. As for the decoration of jewelry, trimming with silver elements was the most common. However, some wealthy families could afford pure gold trimming.
стоимость которых доходила до стоимости табуна лошадей.
There were Saukele with very expensive elements, value of which reached the cost of the head of horses.
Такой головной убор, естественно, был очень тяжелым. Это был не один.
In addition, it should be said that this headdress was very heavy. It was not 1, but 5 or 10 kilograms. Numerous metal elements, carcass with numerous pendants, made the bride involuntarily maintain a good posture. She tried to keep her back. Wearing Saukele was quite a challenge.
Ношение этого Saukele, надо сказать, было достаточно тяжелым испытанием.
Wearing Saukele was a challenge not only for fragile young girls who centuries ago were given in marriage at a young age, but also for the whole family. Saukele, in addition to everything, was a status thing. The more wealthy the family, the richer embellished the bride's headdress. So parents tried to invest in it to the maximum, and sometimes the whole aul, village, of the girl was involved in its creation. All relatives helped. Some gave cuts of expensive cloth, some a precious stone. Precious stones that were used on traditional headwear had their differences. Most often expensive coral were sewed on the headdress of girls. Coral among Kazakhs was a symbol of nobility, prosperity, cohesion, and wealth. Since coral was red, it was sewed on Saukele rim. Since coral was red, it was sewed on Saukele rim. It was a sign of the bride's purity and innocence.
Яғни пәктіктің, тазалықтың, асылдықтың қасиетін көрсетеді.
Почему высота такая, почему там много деталей. Это зависит от, скажем...
Why is Saukele so high and has so many details? It depends on the financial status of a customer. It is true that in early times, one Saukele could cost 100 horses. Indeed, master invested his whole soul into the work, and it was not made in a year. As soon as the daughter is born, the father ordered Saukele. And when she was 13 and it was time to get married, Saukele was ready just in time for her wedding. Master's work does not just include a headwear, but many other details such as breast decoration, bilezek, bracelet, kapsırma, buckles, shashbao, hair jewelry, and even shoes. Saukele, like all headgear of Kazakhs, has strong sacred status. Kazakh people never allowed themselves such a behavior as pulling off a hat and casually tossing it anywhere. The headdress was always up high and never on the floor. Otherwise, the health or well-being of the owner could suffer. And even more so, Saukele was of great importance. It was worn at the time of initiation, the transition from one status to another.
Saukele хранился в специально подготовленном сундуке или футляре.
Saukele was kept in a specially prepared chest or case, and it was treated with great respect and honor because it was a sacred headdress. The tradition of wearing this headdress takes its roots back in ancient times, since the Saka culture. Saukele-like headdress were found by archaeologists in early medieval burials. There are obvious connections between the headdress of the famous Saka leader, the Golden Warrior, and the traditional Saukele. This led to the assumption that the famous Golden Warrior was actually female. Kazakhs usually engaged the most skilled craftsmen in making Saukele. Jewelers cast, stamped or minted metallic details. Generally, Saukele making took a year. Historical sources indicate that the cost of Saukele in the late 19th, early 20th century was 1,000 rubles, which is the cost of about 100 good horses. Saukele, presented at the exhibition of the Third Orientalist Congress in St. Petersburg, was estimated at 600 rubles. It is said that it was adorned with 30 threads of coral, 15 threads of pearls, sewed with red silk and trimmed with fringe of gold threads. Gems of precious metals were shining on its plates. Expensive Saukele were also shown at the Nizhny Novgorod exhibition in 1893. However, a difficult time for Kazakh people began, and of course, most people could not afford such an expensive manufacturing. It led to the fact that luxury Saukele, studded with precious stones, sort of unique works of art, and remained only in the memory of great-great-grandmothers of the modern brides. Daughters of noble and very wealthy parents decorated their headdresses with diamonds. Hats called boyarka, fur hats, and Saukele were diamond-encrusted. And although girls from ordinary families could not afford to decorate their Saukele with precious stones, nevertheless they ornamented them with gold threads, using ornaments of a mutton horn or vegetative ornaments. They also decorated their Saukele with beautiful embroidery in gold and silver. Saukele was conically shaped, its frame was made of white felt, it was covered with red cloth and trimmed with a rim of nutria fur. The wedding accessory was adorned with silver, gold pieces with pearls, corals, and also with diamonds and other precious stones. Kazakhs had their own technology of Saukele making. Overlaid plaques of different sizes were sewn on the fabric. Bezels of plaques were encrusted with stones. It should be noted that Saukele had a metal open work top, a diadem. Sometimes it was made of gold with insets of gems or with threads of pearls. The set included a silver pendant that hung on the forehead and white ribbons with embellishments, silver chains and pendants that hang on the back and chest of the bride. Often, the headdress had shoulder cloaks trimmed with velvet trim with ornament and fringe. In the film Jibek, pearl beads hung on both sides of the girl's Saukele. These pendants on the Saukele emphasized the beauty of the girl, and pearls adorning the hands and the neck of Jibek say that this tradition goes back centuries and is one of the most famous types of jewelry of that time.
Меруерт тастар көбінесе қыздардың құлақ бауына тағылады екен. Яғни Сәукеленің екі самай тұсынан төгіліп тұратын меруерт моншақтар.
Temporal pendants made from pearls draped down the face, giving the girl a special charm. Pearls were used on double-breasted dresses, on bishmet. They were worn in the form of pearl necklace. Pearls were used as decorations on clothes, for example, pearl fringe trimming. Pearls were also used as an additional Saukele decor. These white stones adorned the temporal part of Saukele.
Немесе шаш қаптарында жиектерінде қосымша шәндік элемент ретінде осы меруерттерден зер салып сәнделетін бас киім түрі болған екен.
На изготовление Saukele сейчас уходит примерно около недели. А сейчас
The production of Saukele nowadays takes about a week. Nowadays, stones are available for us. The quality of stones is also quite high. We make Saukele in modern way. Light colors prevail in Saukele production. They are pearls, Swarovski stones and transparent rock crystal.
Каждая Saukele стоит
Each Saukele even now costs a lot of money, but everything depends on the financial condition of a bride. If finances allow the bride to have Saukele from precious stones, then why not? If not, then there are budget options.
камнями, почему бы нет, но есть и бюджетные варианты.
When adorning Saukele, huge importance was given to ornaments, colors, and materials. Masters used the image of the sacred tree of life. Mutton horn, red and its variations was predominating color. This color was associated with active vitality, with youth, with the ability to give life to children. Very rarely, in some regions, there were variations of green, blue, and even black Saukele.
Часто мы делаем
Often, we do to give a piece national flavor.
камни красного
Red
цвета.
stones, materials, and fabrics trimmed in red, all these are part of traditional approach. Red is the color of honor, wealth, and longevity.
Долголетие. Ну, в данный момент
This time I used carnelian, such natural cornelian and coral. These materials are mined in Kazakhstan.
они у нас в Казахстане добываются.
The sound of the walking woman is heard, said the artist Ruben Mazel, describing the wedding attire of the Eastern girl. The complete set of wedding costume of Kazakh bride consisted of a variety of items and jewelry made of gold and silver, which melodically rang at every step, so that the sound of the woman walking was heard at a big distance. Nowadays, wedding Saukele is no longer embroidered with real gold and silver coins, precious stones and natural pearls to emphasize the status of the family and the power of the bride's father. Brides wear stylized versions of Saukele. Saukele close to the original samples is more suitable for connoisseurs of Kazakh art. They can be seen in collections and at exhibitions among the works of jewelers and artists. Works of this scale require a lot of knowledge, time, patience, and passion for work.
У меня появилась эта идея сделать такую.
I had an idea to make a good-looking Saukele, and after studying everything about the technique and materials, I achieved the goal.
Как бы более-менее есть какие-то там материалы. Добился вот такого уровня. Можно делать, добиться такого же эффекта.
It is possible to achieve the same effect, but make the work easier. However, Saukele requires complex work,
Такой Saukele, она
as it consists of different details.
сложная и состоит из...
And for every detail it takes a lot of time, and if we take into account the fact that there are more than 300 parts, it is possible to imagine that it can take 5 years to make the headpiece.
Больше 300 деталей. И вот представьте себе, как раз вот 5 лет ходят на это по-умному.
It is surprising that a bride in Norway often wears a crown instead of a veil, the base of which is made of silver or copper and decorated with chains and bells that gently ring when walking. It is believed that the sound of bells chases away evil spirits who are afraid of the overflow of the bell ringing. Yemeni bride has as much silver in the form of jewelry, dress trimming and headgear as she can withstand, so as not to fall or bend under its weight, because it is considered that the more silver the girl has, the more successful her marriage will be. The headdress hasab is the most colorful element in the attire of Turkmenistan brides. The headdress reaches a height of 30 or more centimeters and is wrapped in red silk. Red color for Turkmens was and still remains a symbol of the life-giving force of nature. People believed in its magical properties to protect a person. Over the silk, silver and gold items, coins and pendants fell to the forehead and temples. Isn't it quite familiar? At all times, different nations attached special significance to the bride's headdress. It had to protect a young virgin who entered a new life in a new status in the new house. Therefore, even now, following our genetic memory, like our ancestors, we aspire to get a beautiful Saukele for a wedding. And it is no longer important if it's original or stylized, because the main thing is to believe that it will save you from that and bring happiness.